that we possibly can. As I said, on all levels yesterday, whether that's individually, schematically, coaching, um, seeing a different team, not knowing what they're going to do, having to make adjustments, things like that. That's great training for me and all the rest of our coaches as well. So um, look forward to a good day today.
So, do you feel like Jalen Mills is trending in the way of being your top cornerback this year, Red One?
I think everybody out there is competing to be the best that they can be. Whatever that turns out to be, I don't know. We'll see.
Where do you think he's at with you all?
Good. Yeah, I think he's been good. Jalen's a very hardworking kid, smart, has a lot of position flexibility. We've used him primarily outside, but he's played inside. He's played safety, and probably play any of those positions pretty well. But our depth at safety right now is, you know, looks like that's okay. So he's worked primarily outside, but he can play inside, and we've done that by matchup too, that type of thing. If the guy is on goes in the slot, then he would go inside, things like that. So we'll see how it all plays out. But right now, it's opportunity for everybody to work on their fundamental skills, and especially a day like today where we're working against players that we're not familiar with, that we haven't covered, that have different skill sets and are very good. So, yeah, great chance for all of us.
Bill, what are you hoping to accomplish the next couple of weeks?
Sorry,
What are you hoping to accomplish the next couple of weeks?
improve our team. That's what we're out here for.
When you're out here in these sessions, is every individual session scripted in terms of what you want to do and Coach Rule wants to do, or is there ever a session where you just, I'll throw our events out there, you throw your defense, and we'll see what happens?
Uh, let's see, how do I answer that? Well, all of it's organized so that we can both get the most out of it. Um, most of it is not pre-called, so we don't know who they're going to have on the field or what they're going to do and what formation they're going to be in, and they don't know the same from us or what defense we're going to be in. So it's organized to the point where we can operate efficiently. It's not a big mystery as to what's going on, but what either team decides to do in that situation, it's up to that team. Now, we've ruled out a few things that we just don't want to deal with. Certain personnel groups or a certain situation that would just become too much of more trouble probably than it's worth at this point in time. So we've ruled out a few things that they're just not going to come up. Like goal line is not going to come up. Ball's not going to be on the 1 yard line. It'll be somewhere else. So that would be an example of something that we've eliminated because the amount of time it would take to prepare for that, for what we would get out of it, just we don't think would be worth it. So those are mutual decisions. But as far as what play is going to be run against what's going to happen, what personnel group and so forth, and the down distances are somebody knows what they are so we can be organized, but everybody doesn't know what they are, so there's an element of recognizing what they are.
Bill, you've seen Baker before. What challenges does he bring to your defense, and how do you just view him as a quarterback?
Yeah, right now we're really just focused on development of our team. So we're not really in the evaluation of everybody else, and there'll be a time for that. But right now, our focus is on how to make our team better, how to coach better, how to play better, how to get our units to communicate better and operate more efficiently. So Carolina's got a lot of good players. They have a lot of guys with different good skill sets. We'll see how we match up against them, and we'll learn about them as we go. But right now, it's much more focused on what we're doing than what they're doing. Although we have to be aware of what they're doing in order to execute it, but it's less of an individual matchup. I'm sure they'll have a lot of different players out there at different positions, as will we.
Bill, is it safe to say that you get just as much out of the joint practices, maybe as you would out of the games when you meet with these teams in the preseason?
Well, in some respects, you get a lot more out of them. So they're both good.
In what areas?
What areas of what?
Do you think you get potentially more out of the practice than you would a game?
Well, we can set up a lot more situations that'll come up that aren't going to come up in preseason games with the players who are most likely going to be playing them. I mean, that would be a good place to start. Certainly in a preseason game, you don't get individual one-on-ones or two-on-twos or those kind of individual matchups that show up in a practice session. So there's a lot of differences between practice and games. I mean, we could be here all day talking about that.
Coach, do you expect
Isaiah Wynn to be able to participate these next 2 days, and what have you seen from Yadney?
Yadi's doing well. Isaiah's day to day, so I don't think he'll participate today. We'll just take it day to day.
Is the report of Joanne Williams' shoulder injury and him being out for the season accurate?
We'll see how that's going. I know he's being evaluated. I'm not sure exactly what the results of that evaluation are.
Bill, philosophically, do you feel like you need a number one cornerback? Is that just a silly thing that we do with depth charts, or is it going to be a matchup thing, or do you like having like the guy for your defense?
For our defense.
Sorry.
I'm confused. Sorry.
Yeah, I must have messed that question up.
We have a number one quarterback. Max, our quarter.
Corner, sorry.
Cornerback.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. Do you feel like you need a number one cornerback?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, defensively, you have who you have, and you play with who you play with. I don't know. Number them however you want. Doesn't make any difference to me. I mean, you've got to put 11 guys out there, and they got to play well together. It's whoever those 11 guys are. So, yeah, I don't know. Number one, number two, number one tackle, number two corner. I'm not sure. I'm confused about that.
Bill, when it comes to analyzing your roster, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses, how big of a help are joint practices just to give you a look of what you guys are doing well and what you're not doing well against another team?
Yeah, I think as we've talked about, that joint practices have value like a preseason game would. So these two practices, plus a preseason game, it's 3 evaluations instead of 1, and that helps learn more about our players and different matchups. Sure.
Bill, the James White retirement ceremony later today. Just what do you expect from that, and what will it be like to kind of see him off?
Well, I've talked to James a number of times through the last couple of years. Last year prior to the season, and then during the season after the injury and the rehab and so forth. So I think this will be more about him and his words and his thoughts and his family than it will be about us. I mean, I've spoken many times about James and all the positive qualities and attributes he's brought to our team that I personally have benefited from and enjoyed from him as a player, as a person, as a captain, as an important part of our organization, not just a player. So nothing's changed there. It's, if anything, just keeps getting stronger and stronger. He continues to always do the right thing and impress everybody that he interacts with, and has great leadership and is a great example for all of us. So I think this is really more about him and his thoughts and his comments. And I think I'm on the record on most of the rest of it.
Regarding communication with Matt that you referenced at the outset, did you have any relationship with him in his prior coaching stints in college or
with
Matt Rule?
Yeah, sure. When Matt was at Temple, and I have some connections to Temple, and so there, and then of course Baylor, they had players, and then when he came into the National Football League at Carolina, we talked then. We actually have tried to work this out, this joint practice session before. It just didn't work out. It did this year, which is great, but we've talked multiple times through the years. So a ton of respect for Coach Rule. His consistency of producing outstanding teams in multiple organizations, Temple, Baylor. You can see where they're going in Carolina. This is a team that certainly is, more than very competitive. We definitely had our hands full with them down there last year, but you can see the moves that they've made to strengthen their team. They're going to be, very, very good, and they're going to challenge in a lot of ways. Defensively, they're as good as anybody we see. Offensively, they're very explosive. They've changed coordinators in the kicking game, but the acquisition of Hecker and Roberts, I'm sure, will impact those units dramatically. So this is a great opportunity for us to work against a good quality football team. It has a lot of good players. It's well coached, and that's established a lot of strong things on the field. And I think, again, you can see where they've tried to address some things, and I'm sure those will be better too.
What's your impression of Ty Montgomery now that you've had a few weeks of camp with him?
He's been great to work with. Ty's been wonderful kid to have around, very smart, multi-skills, multi-talented player. Offensively and in the kicking game, I think he's shown the ability to be competitive in a lot of different areas. We'll see how it all plays out, but glad we have him. Great to work with him, and look forward to working with him throughout the course of the year on the team in multiple roles. I think there's a lot of different things he can do. We'll have to kind of figure out how that's going to play out and how to combine him with other players on the field, who else that is, and so forth. But it's nice to be able to work with him.
Coach, can you talk about the continued development of Mac Jones, how he's progressing, especially under the new offensive coordinator?
Yeah, he's doing fine. We've talked about it all year. His second year is way ahead of where it was last year.
More questions?
What type of development have you seen with him when it comes to route running, pass catching, pass blocking?
Yeah, good. Mondre's done a really good job improving his pass game skills, starting with blitz pickup and protection. Route running, he's got good hands. Catching the ball's never really been an issue. It's setting up defenders, recognizing coverages, when to sit down, when to break, when to, depending on what the rest of the pattern is, how to maximize the distribution on the pattern, which the back's always kind of the last person in the pattern to control flare for flare control. So whatever the rest of the players are running, the back is generally responsible for filling in, being in the right spot to have distribution so the quarterback has an outlet. Or if he's a primary receiver, which that'll happen on a few plays, then obviously the skill of the back to execute the route, get open, be one of the primary receivers on the pattern is critical. But most of the back's routes come off protection, and so there's a protection element. There's a actual blocking the guy part of it, recognition of it, and then being in the general or specific spot that he needs to be in to complement the rest of the pattern. And that comes with a lot of experience. There's so many different variables there. Each play is a little bit different. A lot of times the backs, even their release through or around the line of scrimmage, depending on what's going on with the rush, could be quite different from play to play, even on the same basic route that they're supposed to be running. So it's much different than the receivers and the tight ends. But he's done a good job of, again, gaining experience, and all that is way better than he was last year. And he understands that's an important part of his game. It's not just carrying the ball; it's all things that go with the passing game. So he's done a great job.
Last question.
All right. Yeah, good. Hunter's been good. He's a little limited at the beginning of the spring, but is doing very well. He's, again, I think more comfortable in the overall offensive system, just in a second year, like most players would be in that situation, whether it's and obviously the familiarity with Mac. Like, there's chemistry that those guys have from last year we've built on from this year, and I think that's just going to continue to grow. So Hunter's a great teammate. He works hard and tries to help his teammates, and certainly is a big lift for us in the passing game. He can do a lot of different things, and we have a lot of confidence in him as a coaching staff, and I know the quarterbacks do too. So, all right, thank you.